Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. Pre-season is underway for the new season in real life, new season of Let's Talk Tottenham. And we've got a brand new intro video for those on audio. Just listen to the audio, you won't get the video, but you'll get the nice little jingle and catchy music with it. And then after that, we're talking about Son's 4-year deal. Harry's still up in the air, his transfer stuff. But Gollini and Gil are in. Lamela is off, which is a bit annoying. I quite like him. Romero, will he come? Will he not? Leighton Orient games, Colchester games. Dane Scarlett looking very good. And the new kit, the new away kit, I mean, that's a conversation all in itself. So we're talking about all that and much, much more on Let's Talk. Welcome, Gollini, 4-year son. I hope you like the new video. Let me know what you think. I am toying with the idea and possibly very likely at this stage to be going live videos come the new season on Monday evenings, around about 8 o'clock, I reckon. A few things to sort out though, so it's not guaranteed yet, but watch this space. But yeah, let's still start on a happy thing. Son, Harry, we don't know whether he's coming or going or staying rather. Staying or going, but one of our world-class players, Son, is for another 4 years. Been long overdue. This whole contract saga with him has been going on for a little while now, but thankfully it's signed, and yeah, he's now signed up for another 4 years. It's a pity he can't have a word with Harry and get him to sign as well, but this whole newspaper stuff with Harry is just absolute nonsense. No one really knows other than Kane and maybe his brother, and his brother's getting a load of flack as well, which is very strange. If we'd have committed to doing what Harry wanted and shown ambition, then he wouldn't even be considering leaving, and his brother wouldn't have a say in it at all. So I don't know why his brother's getting a load of flack. But anyway, I said we'll start on a happy note. Son, been a breath of fresh air. You never ever see him in a bad mood other than when we lose. Generally, he's always a happy guy and seems to be quite popular amongst the players and for us fans, a superb player and clinical. I mean, if Harry does go, then you're going to have to fill that void to get Son firing again. But, new manager, new system may suit Son. You may find a system that suits him, but it's very, we talk about Harry leaving and we're not showing enough ambition. You let Son go or his contract go down, that's not showing ambition at all because he's one of the best players in the world. So to get him signed up for another 4 years, I think that'll make him 31, 32 maybe, or 30 when that's over, if he doesn't sign a new one. But massive news. And, I wonder if Paratici had anything to do with that. Something tells me possibly did. But yeah, I mean, and does that mean that Son knows something that we don't on who's coming in or what's happening with Harry or the way that Nuno's going to play? So I think Son signing a new 4-year deal is nothing but brilliant news for us. Absolutely superb. And then we're making headway as well. I started this video and the intro and everything like that yesterday. So I made the video and then we've signed another player and let another player go. But we will be talking about that. First off, Lamela, polarizing character. Some people love him, some people hate him. I think what you can't question, other than the Brighton game when we lost 3-0 and he let the cross go in the first 2 minutes, other than that, so we'll gloss over that. But you can't question his dedication and his effort. And for me, some of the skill he has isn't in question either. You look at the Rabonas and some of the things he does, the skill is not in question. It's the consistency of that skill and the performances, which will always be in question because it's just stop-start a lot. And the injuries don't help. So it's possibly not too bad in a way that we have let him go because he is slightly injury prone and he doesn't really get a decent run in the team because it's always interrupted by injuries. But yeah, he's a battler. He always puts an effort in, gets his foot stuck in. And certainly last year in Mourinho, if the crowds were there, he'd have been the one, I think, to get the crowd going, putting effort in, putting a crunching tackle in. So we'll definitely miss something from him. But, you know, we have got Højbjerg in the middle, who is a warrior as well. Skip, maybe. I haven't seen too much of him at Norwich, to be honest, last year. But he'll obviously want something to prove because he's come through the youth system, one of our own as well, like the Harrys. So he'll want something to prove and hopefully a battler as well. And hopefully we get a defender in who's a battler too. But yeah, sad to see Lamela go, but he has been here since 2012, so 8-9 years. And while we've seen glimpses of genius, it's just not the consistency that you need, really. And like I said, with the injuries, I think he's about 28, 29, so it's probably about time to let him go. And it means we've got a player who, I don't know if we paid anything for Gil. I don't know how you pronounce it. I've seen it all on Twitter today, but we'll call him Gil in this. And if it's incorrect, then further down the line when I find that out, I'll put an apology on there. But yeah, I've seen clips of him. Looks like a winger, and a winger who first thought is take people on. My only worry with that is, I mean, if we keep Harry, we've got a playmaker, but if we lose him, who's giving him the ball quickly? So he is one-on-one with these defenders. But from the videos that I've seen, if you can get him one-on-one, he can skim past people and, you know, very good there. From Sevilla aren't a bad team, so it's not a bad signing. And it looks like we're not going to pay anything, or if we are, very little. Because of the Lamela swap. So he's fairly young as well. So Nuno is a coach, like Pochettino is a coach. Mourinho was a manager, wasn't really a coach. So if Nuno's there a long time, so's Gil, then he can mould him into the player that he wants. So I think it's a win-win in that situation. Obviously, if Nuno doesn't last that long, then you need another coach in to take on that good work with him. But yeah, bittersweet, really. We've got a good player coming in by the look of things, but we've got a player that I quite like, Lamela, going the other way. And Lamela got so much criticism, and yeah, rightly so. He got sent off against Arsenal, but at least he showed a bit of bottle there, which was more than some of the players were doing. And he always showed that kind of bottle and effort and fire. But the inconsistency was there in the performances. But, you know, he got the flack for that, whereas that could have been handed to a number of players. So sad to see him go, but, you know. And the other player that we've got in, Gollini, on loan with a view to buy, I think it's about £13 million, 12.98, something like that, to sign him permanently. He's Atalanta's number one goalkeeper, was last season. So, yes, he's fairly young as well. So, obviously, it's no secret Hugo's getting on a bit. So it looks like it's going to be one for the future. Will he be number one? I wouldn't have thought so. I think Hugo will keep that until he retires. But when you're going to have a number one who's retiring and then a number two, essentially, which I think Gollini will be, you have to give him game time. And it can't just be like Europa Conference or whatever that competition is, because that's not really a competition. League Cup, fine, but that and FA Cup, that relies on you getting far in that. So he needs to have a few games. If he is going to be the one to replace him, if we're not going to get a ready-made number one when Hugo does hang up his gloves and Gollini is the next one, because we're going to exercise that option to buy, then he needs to have some game time in Premier League and bigger games. And I'm not sure he will. He may do. Hope he does. Yeah, big shoes to fill, or should I say big gloves to fill with Hugo. He's been superb for us. He's obviously made his fair share of mistakes in the last few seasons, but for about 3-4 seasons, he was absolutely superb, one of the best in the world, certainly in the league. So yeah, big shoes to fill there. Defence still... I can't remember the Japanese guy. Is it Tomasaki? I could have butchered that, so I do apologise. But I've read today that he's injured, so that's maybe making us go, But, you know, he ain't going to be injured forever, is he? If you want him, I think it's about 20 million in this day and age for a young player. That's not particularly expensive. And then Romero from Atalanta again, although he is at Juventus on loan at Atalanta, but he was on loan somewhere last year as well. So either Juventus don't rate him that highly, or at 23 is one for the future. And they're giving him some game time because they've got players that are ahead of him. But in which case, why sell him for 50 odd million, which again isn't particularly expensive. Although Ben White, one of Brighton's best players, has gone for around 50 million to Arsenal. So maybe that is the going rate for a central defender these days. But again, the negotiations I get all my stuff on Twitter, so I take it with a pinch of salt a lot of the time. The amount of people I've seen us linked with today anyway. But from what I've seen quite a lot of reports that negotiations are still underway and that we've agreed personal terms with him. And it's just, I really hope it's not the Levy doing Levy and just, I don't want to pay that extra 2 million when I'm paying 50 anyway. It's just, who gives a shit about an extra 2 million if you're paying 50? Just pay the bloody stuff. I saw something from Paratici today that said something similar, whether it's from him or whether it was a paraphrase, but if you really want a player, you pay the money that the team want because you need that player. And I really hope that he did say that, and I really hope that he's telling Levy all of that and making Levy do that. But the fact that this is still going on and on and on and on and on doesn't fill me with a great bit of hope, to be honest with you. But I hope I'm proved wrong, because from all reports, he's a proper good defender and fairly commanding defender, fairly tall, I think. But like I've said, I don't think we need a brand new back four or goalkeeper. I think we just need one commanding centre back. He'll dictate that line. Everyone else follows suit, and that is my line. You follow the line. I'll tell you when to move up and back. And as long as those back four or three or five or whatever Nuno's going to do play regularly, then they'll get that communication and knowledge with each other and familiarity. So Wes Morgan, when Leicester won the league, not the greatest defender in the world at all. He was at Forest in the Championship not that long before that, but commanding centre-back. It was his line. It was fairly simple. No one did anything stupid. You had Huth there as well, who's a bit experienced as well. But again, not the greatest defender. But yet they hardly conceded any goals because they had a structure at the back there and everyone knew their jobs, which last year in Mourinho, it was like formation and line-up bingo. No one knew what he was doing. Changed from 3 at the back, then 4, then 5, and then different defenders, different players, different midfielders. No one knew what the hell was going on. Son, Kane, and Lloris and Højbjerg were the only mainstays. They were all playing. The rest was up for grabs and changed every week. So you need that familiarity. With Pochettino, literally, it was the same formation. All that changed was the personnel, and the main core of it stayed the same. It was only injuries and suspensions and resting if we had a big Champions League game or cup game a few days afterwards. But it was the same formation and the same structure of play, so everyone knew their job. So if you were brought in to play in that position, you knew exactly what that position was. With Mourinho, it's different position, different structure, different formation every single week. And you can't get that familiarity, and no one knows what they're doing, so you can't have that. So hopefully with Nuno anyway, that will happen, and we can get this commanding centre back in, and that will help our defence no end. I think. I still think we need a playmaker, but remains to be seen. You've got Skip coming back. Maybe he can be a partnership with Højbjerg, and then the playmaking could go to Dele. He's shown some passing ability, but then obviously with him further up, you lose him skimming someone on the halfway line, playing a bit deep, and then the game opens up. Which for that, if he could do that, that would help Gil and Son or whoever's on the wing no end. There's options there, but I would like a playmaker. And Aouar from Lyon, I butchered that name as well. From what I've read, he's available for about 15 million. He's 22, something like that, playmaker. He's obviously played with Ndombele at Lyon. I've read that him and Ndombele ripped Man City apart in the Champions League when they played him at Lyon. 15 million for 22-year-old, just bring him in. I still think we need a playmaker, but maybe Nuno doesn't really play with one, doesn't really think we need one, but I think with that, you generally don't have the ball as much. And after last year, I don't think a lot of fans are going to be too appreciative if they're paying money to go to the ground and it's boring football again after the last year and a half of Mourinho that we had, whereas a playmaker sorts it out. But then maybe we are keeping Kane, we're going to get a striker in, and Kane's going to be playing more of a kind of Rooney Sheringham role and a bit deeper. But for me personally, I'd like a playmaker, and that Aouar, I think, would fit the bill massively, within budget, young, mouldable. But yeah, and then there's Dele, what happens with Dele? I've said for a long time, there's players that fit into systems and don't fit into other systems. Under Pochettino, it's a perfect system for Dele. You had Eriksen as the number 10, but had the license to go wherever he wanted. The amount of times you saw him picking it up from Toby or Jan, literally off their feet, creates a massive, huge gap. You've got Kane running the channel, Son on the other channel, leaves a huge gap in the middle. Dele, who's playing fairly deep, able to ghost in, unopposed, and gets all the space. And then because we played quick football, we had an Eriksen who could spot a pass. It suited him to a T, really. And I think he's far better off the ball than he is on it. So I don't see him as a playmaker or anything like that, because I don't think he's good enough with the ball or the passing. He's more of an instinctive player, so he needs the space, I think. Mourinho didn't suit him at all, because it was all about, building play up and counter-attack, and he's not particularly quick. But when there's a huge gap like there was in the Pochettino years, you don't necessarily need to be quick, because the play's quick and then you can just ghost in. So it remains to be seen. If Nuno plays into a similar style or a way that gets the best out of Dele and can get him ghosting in, I think we'll see the best of him. If not, I think by January it'll be time to cut our losses with him, which is a shame, because he's a good player. We've obviously seen that. I also think as well, like Pogba, he's heart's maybe not in football, maybe more in the promotional side and his brand, if you will. I hope not, because he was a mainstay in the England squad not that long ago, and now he's not even in the C list, like C team list. Which is a real shame. But if he can get back to his best, we've obviously got a player there, someone who can finish. And yeah, hopefully Nuno can find a way to integrate him in. But then, and what happens there as well, if you can do that and get the best out of him, you've then got competition for places again. I don't think it helped with the fact that towards the end of the Pochettino era, he was guaranteed to play, really. Guaranteed. And there was no competition for him, so he didn't really need to try that hard, because he knew, well, I'm playing anyway. Orvier said something similar at right back. Something similar, that he knew he was playing. So you need that competition for places. I think Orvier will get competition if he stays. Orvier will get competition, because Doherty, I think, will be Nuno's number one, being that he knew him at Wolves, and if he does play three at the back and wing backs, that's where he played. Veguillon to a T. Sessegnon, he's not a fullback, wing back maybe, certainly a winger. So maybe that will give competition to Gil, Bergwijn, Son, wherever Son is going to play. But yeah, I don't think we need a huge amount of players. I don't think we're in that much dire straits as some people make out. Obviously, we've got some people that we need to ship out, but I don't think we need a revamp of the entire squad. Obviously, if Harry goes, we really need to think about something. We really need a top striker in. But let's say Harry stays, I don't think we need a huge amount. I think we need a commanding centre-back and a playmaker. And I think a lot of the players are stale, because it's the same group of players, and a lot of the players, there's no competition there, really. So I think get those in. A commanding centre-back, I think I like Sanchez. Should he go? Probably. There's talk of Ramiro for Sanchez, which I don't think would be a bad deal. But I do like Sanchez. But you can tell when he's not confident, because he starts letting the ball bounce. And Dyer, but again, and Vodon is the future. But again, and Tanganga as well. All of those need a commanding centre back with them. Maybe not an older centre back, but someone who is, I'm the leader here. you're following me. And exactly like Dawson did with King when he first joined. And then look how Dawson turned out. He was captain after that. So I think that's what we need in the playmaker, because playing with 30% of the ball and chasing after the ball doesn't really suit us at all. And Winks, he needs the ball to be effective. He can't be chasing and just keep in position. So I think if we change up the way we play and we have the ball, you'll see a new Winks. Sissoko, maybe that's time for him to go. He's getting on a bit, so I'd say for him to go. Dyer, Sanchez, maybe for one of them. But yeah, this shipping out 10 players, I don't buy that at all, really. I mean, if you got good offers for a lot of them, then yeah, and then get younger people in. But again, it all depends on Nuno's model and formation and way of playing. But I think a lot of our players have got stale and bored and no competition. And you bring in a new manager, that might change that. But you bring in a new face, a couple of new faces. The defenders as well last year, I think, were so terrified of making a mistake, they hardly did anything. No one was commanding because they didn't want to get in trouble from Mourinho. I think that will completely change with Nuno. I think he'll be much more of a Pochettino arm around the shoulder kind of manager rather than a dictator, almost like Mourinho was. But you get a commanding centre-back, you get someone in charge that will give the others a confidence because they know they've got someone they can rely on who will help them out. Midfield, we keep the ball. That'll give Winks confidence because he can play with the ball instead of having a chase. And again, with Mourinho, I think, absolutely terrified of making mistakes and never did anything. And on Dele, well, he got called out by Mourinho and then turned it round. So I think I'm glad we haven't sold him. Bergvall, I think, could have a really good season. I think his confidence was absolutely shot to pieces after the miss at Anfield and then the ridiculous, disgusting abuse he got afterwards. Young man, remember, moved from his native country, still young, and I think it really took it out of him. But that Villa goal that he scored towards the end of last season was him back to his best, getting the ball running at people. But he could be a wing back. Tommy from Tommy Talks Ball was on here not that long ago and said something similar. He was the first one to say it, not me, so I'll give him credit for that. So I think he's right. I think he could be a wing back on the right. You obviously got Tanganga. You got Sessegnon to come back. Skip, who could have a real good season. And then Scarlett, what do we do with him? Leyton Orient, Colchester, 1-0 Orient, 3-0 Colchester. Son, Mora, Dele. And Mora's another one. Give him space. He's like Lamela, to be honest. So if an offer came in for him, I probably would get him, even though that Ajax goal, I'll forever be indebted to him. But those three on the score sheet, it's obviously Colchester, it's pre-season, yes, but that's good to see them going. And Scarlett against Leyton Orient, him and Niall John, I thought looked really good. Scarlett took his goals really well. I think did he get one against Colchester, but it was chalked offside. It was either Leyton Orient or Colchester he scored, and it was chalked offside. But it was a really good first-time finish and a good run. And his goal against Leyton Orient, really good finish. And that was put through by Mora, to be fair. But again, you could have a new lease of life for Mora if you get like a new midfield in and a more attacking play. But Scarlett, he's 17. I would say he needs to go on loan. If he's going to play game time, and not just Europa Conference League and early League Cup and FA Cup, but if he's going to play a few league games, be on the bench, come on with half an hour to go fairly regularly, keep him and see what he can do. If he's not, get him out on loan and give him some game time, because, yeah, you'll be able to learn off Kane and other players, but you learn maybe 10% there. You learn 90% by actually playing. So if he's not going to play, ship him out on loan. Along with it, or, Alfie Divide, Niall John, if they're not going to play, ship them out on loan, get them game time. But a real good prospects. Yeah. And then lastly, let's talk about this away kit. It's a short episode, this one. So the away kit, it looks like someone's just stood on top of a ladder, on top of a canvas, chucked a load of different paint on, mixed it around with a stick, and then stuck our logo, our sponsors on there, and then put it into the shape of a shirt and peeled it off. But having said that, as ridiculous as it does look, I think it will grow on me, and I think I'll probably end up buying it. And the fact that it's not our regular kit, it's an away kit, means we won't wear it that often. So I think it will grow on us, and it makes us unique for a start. And none of the players will have to moan about not seeing where the other players are on the pitch. But yeah, I think it will be a grow. The more I see it, the more I quite like it, which is slightly worrying. Anyway, that's about it. Obviously, there's Harry rumours keep going on and on and on. Don't need to talk about that because it's been talked about every single bloody day. But yeah, Son signing, Gollini in, Gil in, hopefully Romero in. And obviously the players to come back, Sessegnon, Skip in particular, and hopefully a new system and a more attacking system that we're used to. And I think it could be a positive season. Obviously, this top four race is every single season, it's tighter and tougher than the previous. But I don't see any reason why we can't get into that top four. Obviously, the first few games are really, really going to have a say in that because a few of them are really tough. But those tough teams, Man City, for example, you want to be playing them first. You don't want to be playing them 10 games in when they got into their rhythm and they're battering teams 4-5-0. You want to be playing them at the start of the season when they may be a little bit rusty. But yeah, like I've said on here, time and time again, people call me an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm always positive that we'll win. Even if we're in a relegation battle, I think we'll win every game. I think, they depress me enough when they lose, so I don't need to do that to myself. I think we're going to lose straight off the bat. But yeah, I definitely think we can get top four. We need that centre-back, though. We really need that centre-back. And for me, we need a playmaker. But if we can get those, I think we could have a really good season. And certainly if we can keep Harry, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. If you get rid of a player of Harry Kane's calibre, you're going to struggle in a striker of that calibre. You're going to struggle for scoring for goals and assists and goals. That's 35 goals you get shipped out. We've already lost 16 with Bale going. But yeah, I still think it could be a good season. Got another 3 weeks, I think, of pre-season. So we've got Gil and Gollini. We're going to be integrated. So when the season starts, they're going to be integrated in the team. Get Romero done now in the next week. So he's got time to do that as well. And any other players that you want, please get a playmaker. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be a good season and we'll be proud this time and this season saying, come on, you Spurs. Thanks so much for watching. Before you go, please make sure you give the like and subscribe buttons a click. Any questions, comments, or any suggestions for future episodes, if you just add those into a comment on the YouTube video. If you're listening to the audio-only podcast, thanks so much for listening. Anyone who wants the audio-only podcast, you can get that at Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcast from. Alternatively, if you go to Twitter, at @LTalkTottenham, you can find all the information there. I'll be back soon. Until then, come on, you Spurs!